Hey everyone, hope you had a good weekend and getting your week off to a good start. Today I just want to talk about a comment that James Gunn made regarding the first chapter of the DCU, well, kind of just the whole new DC universe in general, but it specifically applied to the first chapter, which is being called Gods and Monsters. So of course you probably all know by now that they have revealed about 10 projects for Chapter 1 of this new DC universe that is going to be a reboot of sorts, and that it has included some animated projects, series, and movies. Well, James Gunn said that the projects they have announced so far are not even half of Chapter 1. That's a little surprising, I guess, in my opinion, even if that includes animated projects, HBO Max series, and movies. That's a lot of content. Like, that's just a lot. That's not even half of the first chapter. Like, I don't know. Do you think he's exaggerating? Do you think he's trying to make it seem like they just have, a plethora of stuff, of projects for the first chapter? Like, I mean, maybe he's referring to, well, I don't know. He didn't really say, options for Chapter 1 or discussions that they're having for possibilities of Chapter 1. He said, it's not even half of Chapter 1, which, I don't know, that seems like a lot to me, in my opinion. Granted, in other franchises, such as Marvel, not to throw the DC Marvel comparison out there, but, sometimes it's hard not to, given the conversation. Marvel has, especially last year, they just had one series after another, and they have movies that come out during the year. That doesn't, more is not always better. More is not always more. Sometimes less is more. For example, this year, Marvel is scaling back significantly on how many series they're going to release compared to last year. And, maybe that's in response, in response to some of the feedback on some of their shows, and they've already had movies coming out this year already so far, but that's not exactly a fair comparison, because Marvel has been, they have stuck to their plans, and even though they've made changes along the way, they didn't keep starting over. So with DC, though, this is going to be another reset for them, for their universe, and so it is a little bit different in that sense, because Superman Legacy is going to kind of start this new DC. It is a new DC universe, even if some of the cast members that we currently have had over the past few years stick around, which if there are any, we know we're going to have Viola Davis as Amanda Waller, and the Suicide Squad members from James Gunn's version of Suicide Squad. But as far as Justice League members, I think Ezra Miller and Gal Gadot are maybe the only ones that are still a little bit up in the air. But I would honestly be pretty surprised if they stick around for, James Gunn and Peter Safran's new DC universe. Shazam is still kind of on the table as well. But David Sandberg did say, he recently responded to a comment on Twitter about this person not feeling too excited to watch Shazam 2. But David Sandberg made it clear that if the movie doesn't perform well, then he's not going to have Shazam is not going to have a future with the new DC universe. At least not Zachary Levi's Shazam. Maybe they'll bring him in down the line, or maybe they have thought about that if Shazam 2 doesn't perform well, which I think a lot of fans share the sentiment that fan had when he told David Sandberg he doesn't feel very hyped about watching the movie. I feel like when I saw that comment from James Gunn, I kind of felt they're already starting with an uphill battle with Superman. Starting out the way that they did with the whole Superman thing that happened between Henry Cavill and all of that. They're really starting at an uphill battle. So it's are you even going to make, if this stuff is only half of, or not even half of Chapter 1, do they really have confidence that they're going to make it that far before there's another, some type of reset or reboot, or, their contracts are only a few years, and there's only so much you can put out per year, especially movies. So I wonder like how far they're really going to make it into their first chapter. And I'm not saying it's, you know, it's not a bad thing by any means for them to have a plan. At least they kind of know where they want to go, and they know how they want to build out the universe. But I am curious to see, like, after Superman Legacy, that's going to be a very big indicator of, I think, how they continue from there. I feel like that one's going to be very tough for them. So it's going to be a hard one to start with. Not only because it's Superman and people are always going to have high expectations for Superman, but also because of what happened with Henry Cavill. So I feel like there's just a lot stacked against them, starting off with Superman Legacy. Batman Brave and the Bold, I think they'll be, you know, that one probably won't have as much stacked against it as far as bringing in big audiences and, you know, fans and whatnot. It's going to be very interesting to see if the studio and this new leadership is as reactive to the reception, whichever way it goes, for Superman Legacy. The previous leadership was extremely reactive to criticisms of Man of Steel, Batman vs. Superman. So, which is pretty much what led to what happened with Justice League, right? That they were so reactive to all the negative feedback about Man of Steel and BVS. They didn't really it seems like they didn't even realize that there was so much positive feedback from a strong fan base. They only focused on criticisms from movie critics and, you know, Rotten Tomatoes and those kinds of platforms. Even though there might have been people behind the scenes, behind closed doors, that did pay attention to the positive feedback from the fan base, outwardly they were like, we're going to take every single criticism that we got and apply that to Justice League. And it did not work out in their favor, so at least we got Zack Snyder's Justice League. But it was just, even after that, they still really were just super reactive to criticisms and comparisons to Marvel. And I wonder, like, how this new leadership is going to be in terms of, like, what if the same thing happens? Like, what if critics are, you know, just hounding them about what they choose to do with these characters and, you know, still just bashing them compared to Marvel? You know, what if that's kind of like just deja vu? So I wonder if they're going to be as reactive or if they're going to stick the course and be like, we have this whole plan, we have this vision for our universe moving forward, we're going to stick to it, and that's what we're going to do. So I wonder how that's going to play out as far as, you know, fans reacting to what they have to offer. Because, you know, after Aquaman, well, Blue Beetle also is going to come out this year, unless they happen to change it, I don't know. But if it sticks, coming out to the August release date, and then Aquaman, those will be the last of the, you know, movies from the previous leadership coming out. So all these movies coming out this year from previous leadership, Aquaman's gonna be the last one. And then, you know, a while after that, we'll start getting all of this newer stuff. So it's going to be interesting to see how audiences or like, you know, people as a whole, people that are not just, you know, tight-knit fan base, people beyond that, it's going to be interesting to see how they respond to it, and then in turn how this new leadership responds. So I just wanted to kind of talk about that a little bit today. But shout out to any new subscribers. Thank you guys for the support on the channel. Don't forget to check out anything you might have missed recently. Hit that like, share, comment, subscribe, and we'll see you soon.